No. 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 No! I invented dry scooping. Apparently now it's become a TikTok trend. Can you believe this? To dry scoop protein powder amid concerns it could lead to choking, pneumonia, or heart disturbances. Wait, no.
What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about the BBC News. Yes, this is the same news network that the guy with gyno came to talk about his gyno. So doctors are being alerted to a dangerous pre-workout trend called dry scooping. Some gym goers are eating powder supplements neat rather than diluting them in water as recommended by manufacturers. Imagine saying, instead of dry scooping, I take my pre-workout powders neat. Doctors alerted to dangers of gym goers eating powder supplements neat. Dude, he has like a fucking, their thumbnail is a like protein scoop. Man, imagine dry scooping that. Fuck, you would definitely, that's a choking hazard, bro. Researchers are worried young teens may be at risk with many health issues arising from taking on too many energy boosting stimulants. Tap the link in our bio to read more about the fad and the associated risks. So is this the concern? Other than the popularization of like abusing the fuck at a pre-workout, I guess, it's kind of being like romanticized, like tossing back fucking scoops on scoops and like making, you know, TikToks out of them and stuff. We've reacted to many of them on this channel. But the real concern is more inhibiting the efficacy of them as well as choking hazard among it just being like it being a trend that ultimately is, a lot of people wouldn't even be doing it if they didn't think they could get clicks out of it. So again, we've talked about this many times. Let's go through some of the comments first. Dry scooping, LOL, no man. If I ain't got the time to make a milkshake, then I won't have one. It's that simple. Natural selection. Yup, got that from Dr. More Plates, More Dates. What did he say lately about the topic? Haven't watched the video yet. LOL, dry scooping. They just now realized this is a norm. What about snorting it? The powder, or what kind of powder are you talking about? These kids heard of coffee. They should sniff it. Crying Laughing Face ×2 by Lou Bialy with a crying fox for his profile picture. Oh my god, surprised face. How does one eat this neat? First Tide Pods, now this. I personally boof my creatine. Classic. So for me, I made this video a while ago. Stop dry scooping pre-workout. And I talked about this in passing in a few videos prior to this, but this was, I think, my first like dedicated video. I have a nice compilation here of individuals you may be familiar with who are dry scooping. So anyway, that is something that is becoming more and more prevalent. And I'm shocked how many people prefer this method of administration, because at the end of the day, sure, it's efficient, I guess, from a time management standpoint, but like really how much more time does it take to mix the shit? And if it tastes good, like what are you doing? You know, it fucking tastes good. Drink. You know what I'm talking about. Dr. warns about dry scooping fitness fad. So the BBC News has a video as well, which we will be watching. It looks like the like to dislike ratio is not that favorable, which should be interesting why. We will find out in a second here.
Doctors are being warned to look out for a dangerous workout trend called dry scooping that some gym goers are doing. It involves eating protein-rich powder supplements neat.
Wow, no wonder his dislikes. This is horrible. Within fucking 10 seconds, they already fucked up the story. Protein-rich supplements with a picture of a goddamn protein scoop. Nobody's doing that. At least not, well, I'm sure there are dumb people doing that too, but I mean, this is supposed to be about pre-workouts.
Rather than diluting them in water as recommended by manufacturers. Researchers who are giving a talk at a US medical conference are worried that teenagers, others may try it, spurred on by a flurry of internet videos of the fad. Let's talk now to nutrition scientist Bridget Benelum, who is from the British Nutrition Foundation. What's the problem with this?
So the main active ingredient of these powders is caffeine, and they vary in terms of the level of their caffeine content from anything to about equivalent to 1 cup of filter coffee
We all know those protein powders spiked with caffeine, those motherfuckers.
To up to 3 or even more cups of filter coffee. So that's potentially a lot of caffeine in one dose. And now if you're preparing these made up to manufacturer's instructions, that's one thing. But if you're just eating the dry powder, then you may be getting that dose much more quickly, and you may also be having more than the manufacturer recommends. So I think the key issue here is the potential for having much too much caffeine at once. And what we don't
Like, I don't think that's the concern, bro. Like, you're worried, it's a fucking measurement. You're using a scoop. Like, how is it otherwise going to be? It's not like you're boofing the shit. It's not like you're sublingually administering it. How is it going to be that much different when people are chasing it with water from a caffeine ingestion standpoint? Like, it's otherwise going to be irritating the GI, might not get assimilated properly. You might otherwise not even get the effects of it if you're not having adequate hydration concurrently, given these ingredients. A lot of them function through the act of hyperhydrating the muscle, acting as a potent osmolyte, intramuscular fluid dynamics, vasodilation. Like, for me, my main concern is it even gonna fucking work properly? And then secondarily to that as well, or, you know, identically, is it a choking hazard? Which I have seen individuals like actually fucking like almost choke on TikToks. It's fucking ridiculous. And that's probably a separate video for another time. But like, again, when you're slamming glycerol, when you're slamming betaine anhydrous, when you're slamming creatine, when you're slamming some of these things that otherwise like function through like fluid dynamics, intramuscular hydration, this kind of shit is like ultimately counterproductive when you are not using water in order to facilitate the actual mechanism of action of some of these compounds. And again, like actually like verifying and feeling like confident that you're assimilating some of these ingredients that are like you've spent like a decent fucking amount of money on. Like, why would you not want to ensure that and ensure they're getting absorbed correctly and actually utilized and partitioned, you know, so to speak, effectively? Like, you're not gonna, like, if you have a scoop and you pour it in a cup versus you pour it in your mouth, why would the amount of caffeine be different from a measurement standpoint? Like, her concern to me seems kind of fucking weird.
don't know is how this impacts on the general population. Now, we have research around caffeine and performance in athletes, but of course, when you're looking at an athlete, that person is usually has a team around them, looking after them, checking their medical health, they'll be aware of the medical records. But of course, in the wider population, there can be a lot of variability in terms of how sensitive people are to caffeine. And we probably all know that there are some people who say can't have coffee in the evening or they can't sleep. So
what? Like, you're telling me I'm better off having pre-workout if I'm like with my fucking basketball team or something? Like, they are somehow going to scientifically dismantle if I'm like tolerant to the shit or not? Like, there's a warning section on supplements for a reason that says run it by your doctor. See if you have any contraindications with medications. Do not use this if you're under a certain age. Do not use this if you're fucking pregnant. If you're this, if you're that. Do not combine it with these kind of ingredients. Don't use fucking PDE5 inhibitors with nitrates. This kind of shit is on the label for a reason, and you run it by a medical professional. You don't run it by your fucking forward on the soccer field and be like, hey bro, like, am I able to take this? And fucking, you know, random Ronaldo on your soccer team's just like, no bro, you can't. Because I can figure that out just by looking at you. Makes sense.
for example, if you're getting a lot of caffeine at one go, there is the potential for unpleasant side effects. Now, they are not necessarily serious. It could just be feeling a bit jittery, as perhaps we all have when we've had too much coffee. But if you're sensitive to caffeine, or if you have an underlying medical condition that you may not be aware of, then there is a potential risk there of just having much too much caffeine at once.
Okay. And do you believe that is dangerous if you have much too much caffeine at once?
Well, there is certainly the potential for negative effects on your health. And I think the difficulty is we just don't know. We don't have the research on these powders.
Yeah, we have some research on caffeine ingestion. Now, some of the concurrently used stimulants that round out these formulas, that is a bit more up in the air. But again, like, we have plenty of literature to support the safe recommended daily intake for caffeine at a maximum tolerable amount, as well as recommendations about running anything stimulatory by your fucking doctor ahead of time. So again, I think this is like pretty well established. And frankly, if you have like a heart defect, or you have some genetic predisposition to being a like slow caffeine metabolizer, like, these are things that ultimately you should proactively kind of figure out before you ingest anything psychoactive or anything stimulatory, ideally. Hence the medical disclaimers on these products. Now, again, I guess medical disclaimers, ultimately, they kind of are just like, terms of service, or like, the fine print for some people, where they just fly through them. Like when you see the, like Apple iTunes, and you have like a fucking, every update, you have like a 20-page thing you have to scroll through and click I accept. But again, this is not a 20-page thing. It's like one paragraph. So I mean, like, ultimately, I think some of the onus should fall on the user, and it's not Like there's literature to support like what you are in, like these dosages being like benign and or like well tolerated or generally recognized as safe. So like there is some degree of accountability that needs to be taken here. And it sounds like she's kind of like putting it on the companies and like, well, I don't know. I guess she's putting it on the individual somehow because she's saying you're dry scooping. It's going to be way worse somehow if you're fucking dry scooping it than not.
We don't know what they're doing. We don't know how people are taking them, but clearly they are taking them according to these videos in a way that isn't made up according to the manufacturer's instructions, which is usually a scoop of powder and then made up to be a drink, where you would be getting probably the caffeine more slowly, you would be getting water at the same time. So I think, you know, there's really no need to take supplements before you go to the gym.
Are you going to be getting it that much more slowly? Like how many people take, like I guess if you're sipping your pre-workout for like 20 minutes or something versus you dry scoop and it's in your system in like 2 seconds. Because again, it's not like you're swallowing it dry. You're still chasing it with water. But again, my concern more so stems from the assimilation of everything and actually facilitating the mechanism of action and the choking hazard. I'm not really thinking like, oh, your caffeine is you're hitting yourself with caffeine way too fucking quick. Like ultimately most people are not taking more than like fucking 5 to 10 minutes to drink pre-workout at the end of the day. So is it that much goddamn different?
Before you train. But if you are going to take them, then it's really important then you follow the manufacturer's instructions and that you don't take more, because these ingredients that are powerful and potentially can affect your health.
Yeah, she's definitely on point there. I definitely agree with that statement. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations. Do not exceed the maximum daily intake. Use the fucking amount of water that is suggested. That is what I would do for sure. On board with that message.
It's interesting that you say you don't need supplements at all or all these kind of so-called nutritional drinks at all before you do some exercise or go to the gym. Why do you say that?
So we know from research in athletes that some of these ingredients have the potential to benefit performance, but that really is at that very elite level where people are doing very high level training and the margins. But you know, if you're just going to the gym to keep generally fit, you want to build muscle, you want to build your endurance, you really don't need anything extra. Your body's very capable of adapting to exercise and benefiting from it, and you don't need extra supplements in order to support your body to do that.
And we know you don't need fucking anything at the end of the day. Groceries should be the #1 allocation of your budget, as is your gym membership, as is your, from a time perspective, sleeping, fucking, you know, basics, you know, being fulfilled. But again, if you want to enhance the, you know, motor unit recruitment, you know, neurological firing, actually get a more, I don't know, motivated on a day you're trying to hit a PR, like maybe she's kind of like, I don't know, stratifying those individuals into elite athletes. So I don't know, like ultimately it's like, I think any of us who use pre-workout know whether or not that justification makes sense. And for her to be like, well, it doesn't build muscle. It's like, no shit, bro. Like I understand that there's going to be a relatively negligible muscle protein synthesis benefit from actually enhancing force production with some like stimulants or some shit. Like ultimately, a lot of this is to get a better, I don't know, more volume in, get more training in, which downstream is going to, or, you know, hit better lifts during progressive overload. All that kind of stuff is ultimately downstream going to, you know, allow you to build more muscle and or improve performance in some aspect. Or, you know, deal with the, I don't know, lack of sleep on a certain day and completely like abolish the sleep-induced performance decreases that you otherwise would have experienced if you didn't use these psychoactive compounds, or you get more endurance through like a glycerol administration, or, you know, like a myriad of things. Creatine, like blatantly ergogenic. Like there's lots of reasons you should be using this stuff, but it's not a make or break, as she states. I think we all fucking get that though. I think that argument is ultimately silly at the end of the day. You don't need any of this shit. You don't need, we know that, thanks. So interestingly enough, Pewdiepie is hopping on the reaction train to dry scooping. It's getting fucking big. People are noticing it. It's trending all over the place at this point. Pewdiepie says stop in the thumbnail. He says TikTok's latest dumb trend. So this has been a trend for a minute that has not died off, seemingly. It's still fucking popping. So let's see what he has to say.
No. I invented dry scooping. Apparently now it's become a TikTok trend. Can you believe this? To dry scoop protein powder. amid concerns it could lead
Not protein powder, for fuck's sakes.
to choking, pneumonia, or heart disturbances. Wait, no. They even got it wrong, idiots. It's pre-workout. Pre-workout isn't protein powder. Why would you, new study. I like how they're doing studies on this. Finds dry scooping videos had over 8.2 million likes. Bro, you can just look up. This one has 24 million likes. Like, what? It could lead to overconsumption. Oh no. Listen, it's awful. It's the dumbest shit ever.
Because if you dry skip, you're somehow just gonna not remember how to measure anything anymore. Because that makes sense.
It leads to overconsumption. What the fuck does that mean? Yeah, death, sure. All right, so TikTok's latest trend. I think this has gone on for a while actually, but now TikTok is trying to shut it down.
Threw up once because I breathed it in my lungs.
Oh, this is one of the ones I saw. This chick literally fucking almost dies on camera.
So take a breath first. Open your mouth, back and forth with your teeth. There you go. Put some water in. Don't breathe. Give it a swish.
Oh, fucking pussy. Pussy. You gotta do it like that. You gotta do that first. Don't they understand? It could lead to overconsumption.
Man, he like didn't even show that video. That video was a fucking rough one, dude.
I dry scooped my pre-workout once so naturally. This time I got a little too cocky and tried to get fancy with it by pouring it down my throat instead of my mouth. Oh, that's a terrible idea. You dumb bitch. I had a heart attack. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, we covered this chick too. If you haven't seen it, it is, what is it? Pre-workout heart attack. Let's see what comes up. Boom, first result. Maybe it's just because it's me like searching, so it's like recommending me my own shit. I don't know, but if this is organically the first result, that'd be pretty fucking cool. So anyways, boom, this chick took this pre-workout and people thought she was lying about it for attention. But again, we sort of went into like understanding your risk, your genetic propensity to if you can even tolerate psychoactive stimulants to begin with. And like certain individuals have to do their due diligence at the end of the day. Not everyone. Some people take a Tylenol and have like fucking liver failure, you know? Some of this shit is individual specific. There's going to be outliers who have like very, very aberrant responses to these compounds, and it's ultimately up to the individual to do some sort of due diligence, I believe, according to the medical disclaimers. Now, how many people are going to do that? Not enough, unfortunately, but like some individuals can't handle, you know, what the max tolerable amount of caffeine is, and they end up in this situation.
How did that happen? So I only tried a pre-workout a couple of times, and as someone that, you know, drinks a lot of caffeine, I didn't expect much would happen at all. But I read the package. I'm like, okay, so I need to wait like a couple minutes before the workout. So I sat down in front of my computer after I drank it, and all of a sudden my body's just starting to tingle, and my face is just completely numb, and I'm like, oh, cool, so I'm dying. Pre-workout is it's really fucking strong. So out of all things to like consume without even drinking water, it
Butthole paresthesia, bro.
just seems like a terrible fucking idea. And it's so typical TikTok to start a trend out of this, right?
Alright guys, so I had a heart attack, as most of you guys know, from taking this Redcon 1 Total War, and I dry scooped it, but I think even if I put it in water, I would have been asked out anyways.
It's a good point.
I bet the experts would probably tell her it's because she fucking dry scooped it for sure.
I think even if I put it in water, I would have been asked out anyways.
All right, so Pewdiepie goes through and kind of dissects some of the ingredients, I guess.
Can have 3 or 4 times as much
his heart, but something's wrong.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that Chubby Emu video ended up being, wasn't it like, somebody told me there was like some fabrication involved in it, but apparently that's like, some of the educational material is kind of like embellished to make it more, I don't know, enticing. I hadn't even thought of that for my channel, by the way, but that is, it was an interesting one. It was like a case report that was like otherwise like exaggerated to some extent, because if you recall, it was like, I think that one might be one of the biggest ones. It was like TikToker chugged 8 scoops pre-workout. This is what happened to his brain. And I did a video on it too, following this, I think, off the top of my head. But If you actually looked it up, I believe it was like slightly or significantly embellished to kind of like make a more impactful point. But interesting nonetheless. Definitely recommend you check out that video if you haven't. So anyways.
Until the blood vessels start to crush them.
Aaron Edwards explains why.
Don't think too much. There you go.
But why? Why would you do that? Stop it.
Pre-workout powder and ingest.
Let's go 3 AM crew war. How I feel every AM. Every AM I am. I feel so good. Or you could just, you know, like work out. I know I'm supposed to sell G Fuel now, but you don't need to drink anything.
Dude, the guy's trying to tell us you could just work out when he drinks fucking caffeine to sit in a fucking gaming chair. No one's judging the gaming community. I'm actually coming out with a gaming supplement that will absolutely nuke G Fuel's formula, which if you haven't seen my scientific dismantling of G Fuel's formula, go check it out. But I'm shocked he said that. Like, why would you take it? Like, in general, I would understand why would you dry skip it, but why would you take it to go work out? Bro, like, why would you take any psychoactive stimulant to do fucking anything, especially sit in a chair and game? Like, I think that would be more strange to get an ergogenic benefit from looking at a computer than it would to be literally like forcefully pushing heavy weights into the air and trying to do more of them. So anyway, I'm surprised he said that.
Before a workout. It's possible. You just start lifting shit. I don't know. It's crazy, right? The fuck?
I heard of it, but I have an 11-year-old, so I said, have you seen this? And she was like, oh, Mom, yeah, I have.
Owner of Energy Zone Fitness, Julie Kranek, was shocked to find her daughter knew of the dry scoop trend. After a search, she found dozens of videos.
Bruh, how can you let your kids be on TikTok? I know there's like an age limit of 13-year-olds to be on TikTok, right? And it's the same with YouTube, but the problem is like no one gives a fuck.
Okay, I think we get the idea. So the dry skipping thing is apparently becoming even more of a problem nowadays. And ultimately, all I can say is if you haven't seen my Stop Dry Scooping Pre-Workout video, definitely recommend checking it out. But ultimately, it boils down to the efficacy of these ingredients. It's expensive. This shit is not cheap. You're spending your hard-earned money on it, and you want to actually get the maximum performance-enhancing benefits out of what you're using. And above and beyond that, you know, maybe you end up choking. Maybe you end up in a situation that you are compromised. Like that chick who Pewdiepie skipped over, she had, like, it was a fucking scary video. It wasn't just like a little bit of choking and she, you know, she swallowed some water and she was fine. Like she was like gasping for fucking air for a significant amount of time throughout the video. Like it was actually a pretty frightening video to watch. So ultimately at the end of the day, get a pre-workout that tastes good, I guess. I don't know, like this shit tastes good. Like just fucking drink it. It takes like 2 seconds to mix it and it takes 2 seconds to slime it. Like just do that. Or if you're gonna be dry scooping it, I guess understand that chasing it with a significant amount of water is the ideal way to facilitate it working properly, because if it gets into your system, you just have to understand that a lot of these ingredients work through the manipulation of fluid dynamics in the body, and achieving the effect you're trying to get out of these expensive things that you're spending your money on are going to be facilitated by adequate hydration. So like when I hear people say, oh, pre-workout didn't work for me or didn't do this, and then it's like, well, what's your fucking diet like? What's your electrolyte balance like? Are you even getting in the proper substrate to even allow a pre-workout to give you some sort of element of advantage when the rest of your diet's like garbage? If you're like depleted as fuck on low carbohydrate diet, you know, you have your electrolyte balance is all out of whack, even if your sleep is fucked up, like your ability to even reap the rewards out of these ingredients, it doesn't matter how much citrulline and fucking betaine and creatine you have. Sure, they're going to help offset the diminishment of your, you know, contractions and pumps in the gym if you have a shit diet. But if you have a shit diet, like I'm sure some of you guys have noted the difference between having a dialed in diet versus a not dialed in diet, and when pre-workout works versus doesn't work seemingly in the gym, how insulin sensitive you are, how much carbs are in your diet, your peri-workout nutrition potentially for some individuals, if you're fasted versus not. Like some of these things are going to play into your ability to kind of like even get what you're trying to get out of a product from like a contraction standpoint. But above and beyond that, even the stimulant intake too, like that is going to be manipulated highly on if you're on an empty or full stomach. Stuff like that has significant implications on how much you feel or get out of your pre-workout. And like, you just give yourself the best opportunity for it to work. And that includes having an adequate amount of water with it. fucking simple. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Is TikTok still a, I don't know, is it like a dumpster fire of dry scooping videos still? Like, I'm not saying the whole platform's like that, by the way, but like this trend was really like aggressively popping off when I first reacted to it. And I thought it kind of chilled out, but maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe it's even worse now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. All the comments help the algorithm. How many of you guys dry scoop versus not? Any fucking comments? They help the algorithm. They're much appreciated. Like, subscribe, check out my blog. MorePlaceMoreDates.com. Follow me on Instagram at MorePlaceMoreDates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below, including Gorilla Mode, pre-workout formulas I designed myself from scratch. These are efficacious formulas designed by me to hit every vector of performance, from a hyperhydrating aspect, from a vasodilation aspect, from a psychoactive stimulating aspect. These formulas are turnkey and designed to maximize each vector of performance that you can leverage in the gym, but ultimately some of it does fall on the user to ensure they have a good diet, good electrolyte intake, good sleep hygiene practices, etc. Having the substrate to actually facilitate fucking pumps in the gym. It's not just reliant upon your, you know, maxed out dose of L-citrulline. This stuff is additive and supplementary to your diet, not a replacement for a piss poor one. So definitely keep that in mind when you're utilizing this stuff, and drink your fucking water. So anyway, as well, my recommended diet model for gaining muscle and sports performance, which backfills a lot of these requirements when you're wondering, like, how do I go about getting the adequate balance of electrolytes? How do I know how much carbs, protein, fats I should be eating? How do I know what's a micronutrient rich way to hit my macros in an intelligent way? This diet is idiot proofed and is the most newbie approach to maximizing health and performance, in my opinion. And I definitely recommend checking it out. It is in the video description below, as well as anything else I'm associated with. It is all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.